Metatalks continues with Alachia and Azyxa. Today's date is Wednesday, October 9, 2013, and this is episode 22. I like smart nerds and I cannot lie. I like smart nerds and I cannot lie. Other gamers can deny. But when a sliver drops with it a bit of haste and a death touch in your face, you get sprung.
Wow. Impressive. Superhero like even.
I really do like smart nerds. Had to express myself with the song. Okay, so we just got through watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 3, so we're just going to jump right into that.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I had a lot of high hopes for this, but I also kind of knew in the back of my head that because it was going to be broadcast on cable television that it may not be that great. And then after we watched the show called Alphas, which is about kind of a mutant team formed together,
yeah.
I kind of thought to myself, oh, I think that's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be like. And sure enough, I saw the first episode, and I was
sorely disappointed.
Sorely disappointed that I was right. Yeah. Did you have similar feelings?
I don't know. It was funny. I went in having low expectations, and then I was still disappointed. I don't know. Like, I mean, you take Joss Whedon, like he's what, I guess writing in part with someone else, and they have a fairly large budget, and I don't know. The cast seemed very flat, not that interesting. The writing's not interesting. It's kind of boring and a little bit too cheesy for what they're trying to do. At least for what I was hoping that they were trying to do. Yeah, I don't like it. I did not like the pilot at all. The second episode it started off really interesting, then went downhill extremely fast. This third episode we just watched, it was a little bit better, but it was not redeeming the show in any fashion, not yet.
Yeah, no. So it would be awesome if I tore off like Daisy's clothes right now, and she had like the Superman thing underneath, and she like flew off. Like, awesome! Okay, because that's what you expect out of superheroism, and like the appeal of like the Avengers and Iron Man 3 and all the superheroes, movies, comics, whatever, lore, is that they have superheroes in them. So like to take away the superhero aspect and call it a show that's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and basically it's the background of like what goes on, support teams for heroes and everything like that, then to not include heroes is like ridiculous. And so basically what it comes down to is like, most people are probably too old for this, but Mission Impossible in the 80s. Yeah, before like Tom Cruise ruined it. But Mission Impossible was very much like this. They had missions they went on. They had special agents that were trained to go on these missions and do, things to protect the government.
Keyword, trained.
Trained, yes. Yes, trained. Exactly. And then, so I watched this, and I'm just thinking, okay, well, first episode comes along. They have a bunch of, like, they have this, hot-headed agent guy. I think his name is Ward. I'm slowly learning the names. Like, it's pretty bad when you don't even know the names of, like, the main characters. Like,
Sky.
Yeah, I know Sky. Yeah, okay.
Coulson, that's it.
Yeah, Coulson. And so, Coulson comes back from the dead or whatever, forms this elite team that has all the resources in the freaking world. And he forms this elite team
of scrubs.
Of freaking noobs. And it's horrible. And, like, he's got this one combat chick who's apparently a badass, but she's got issues with doing combat, which is, like...
Not very useful.
Not useful. And then, I know eventually she'll come into the field and be awesome, but, like, I don't understand, like, what's the appeal of that? I don't even know. But anyways, then you have your hot-headed, like, Tom Cruise character, who is your field agent who kicks ass and kicks butt, and I only work alone and all that crap.
Yeah, but he's very generic, which is unfortunate.
He's extremely generic. He's a horrible actor. And then you have these two, like, squirrel scientist freaks in the show who have, like, zero personality other than to just be, like, annoying. And I think their only purpose in the show is so that they can produce technology or science they need to explain shit that happens in the show.
Yeah, they can just do anything they need to explain.
We'll just create a device that does that.
And they show it, and they like just spout off some nonsense, and they don't have to explain.
We just configured the blah 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 to the right medium, and then we were able to like solve the problem. Blah 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 blah. Hey, we're so clever. Hey, just yeah, I didn't like those. And then they introduced Sky, who's this hacker, which is now like the second most misrepresented profession in the world in Hollywood's eyes, under architects.
That's true.
And so she's this hacker who acts nothing like a hacker and behaves nothing like, thinks nothing like a hacker.
No.
But she joins a team, and so this is this elite group of people, like one completely unprofessional, unprepared hacker who has no field training, who has no background of anything, who just knows how to hack stuff. Why don't you just put her in a desk job? I don't understand, like, have her go hack stuff
have her hack
office.
stuff. I mean, she doesn't need to be field trained, and I can understand them wanting to do that. It's just a bunch of weird ideas.
I expected S.H.I.E.L.D. to be a bunch of badasses. I mean, I expected... So the first episode comes on, and you're like, you meet this ragtag team, and you're like, okay, fine, whatever. I was already annoyed. Then they bring out this guy who has superpowers. He leaps from a building, saves this woman. He's a little bit conflicted about whether or not to go public with himself, and you're thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like an origin story,
they start off kind of interesting.
It's like this guy's like this black Superman. It's like awesome. And then like the next thing you know, it's like, forget that. We're going to do Freak of the Week instead.
Smallville, hello.
And we're going to stick this device on this guy's hand and claim that he got modified, so that's how he got his superpowers. And we'll just, at the very last part of the, episode, we'll just capture him, reason with him, and then fix him. And he goes off on his merry way. And I just thought to myself, what a really, really shitty, like, way to ruin a really awesome, like, possibly great origin story. And a lot of people claim like it is the real origin story of like one of the I can't remember, it was like some comic geeks thought that they had found him in a real comic episode.
Yeah.
But it actually turned out that the producer said it was just a coincidence he had the same first name. So it wasn't even an origin story. So it was even worse.
Yeah, it was a shame because they totally ruined it and cheapened it by like giving him the power through technology. Like it would have been so much more interesting if this was like a little mini origin story about like some lesser known superhero.
Right. And now it just seems like when they do stuff like that, it's like, oh, anybody can be a superhero, right? And so they didn't really make him special about that. And then on top of that, like they really took an amazing opportunity they could have had right then and there with that character in developing how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. works with other heroes, because that's what's the cool part about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that they work with other heroes. How are you a support for other heroes when you don't have a hero? Like I don't understand. Like this would have been a really cool way of showing like how they manipulate other heroes to help them, or how heroes manipulate them to help them, and how they conflict with like their priorities. Just a lot of really cool stories you can have about the way that this group of people could have interacted with like a potential superhero of the future. And I just thought like instead they just decided to create these like Mission Impossible things, like it should just start at the beginning of the show, like, do you accept this mission, like, will you send the noob out to the field to complete this mission? This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Like I have a feeling like it's gonna be like the Freak of the Week formula, like the Smallville formula, where like they have some like technology side. Like I guess the last two are about like technology they find. But then like every time they come across people, it's going to be the Freak of the Week. They have to like deal with this person, remove their powers, or like do something to them, and then they're gone. They just like fly off. You'll never see them again. It's
right.
Just, and that formula's been done so many times. It's so boring.
Well, it just becomes basically an action show about just special agents. It has nothing to do with the world of Marvel Comics.
No. And
I think what's really annoying is that you have them dealing with things like these weapons, and one of the biggest nemesis in the show is this hacker / WikiLeaks like anonymous group called Rising Tide. And it's like, who cares? Aliens fucking came out of the freaking a wormhole and almost destroyed our universe. Like all these piddly little like missions don't matter. Like we're all gonna die. Like like without freaking the Hulk and Iron Man and freaking Thor. You're like, these people don't matter. Like that's the thing that kills me.
Well, I mean,
it's like,
you're right. They don't matter, and it's fine to make a show about this. But like, I just find the overarching enemy, Rising Tide, to be weird. It's a weird choice. Like what you said. Like you have like all these crazy heroes. You have these crazy villains with superpowers, And then like they make the arch enemy of like the show, or I guess
Right.
the overarching enemy, like just like a hacker group. I mean, and granted there might be more to it, but it just seems like a waste.
Yeah, it just seems like a waste of good storytelling too. Like I just would have really preferred them take Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and show them as a really, really badass like ninja type group. You know, like they had problems getting into this facility that had technology in it, and you're like thinking to yourself like our freaking Navy SEALs could have done that. Like you just like this is not that big a deal, and then like. They introduce like really awesome story elements like the Tesseract in episode 2, and they do nothing with it. They just they use it as just basically, it could have been anything. It could have been freaking gold bullion. It doesn't even matter. Like that with the whole like beauty of the sci-fi / fantasy element of that whole entire universe of Marvel is like completely negated by the fact that they have this ragtag team trying to get their shit together, and episode 2 was like I couldn't even handle it. Like I only watched episode 3 just to say that I gave it a fair chance, like entirely. Episode 3 was a big improvement from episode 2, which basically defied all laws of physics and reality.
Episode 2,
the entire thing took place on a plane, and
out of control.
Freaking hole in the plane patched by a plastic.
It's like an inner tube
raft.
It's like a raft. They just patched the hole in the airplane
and the
with
whole
a raft.
and
it held.
The cheesy lines like you don't have to come up with the whole solution, just a part of it.
Just 1%. And then you need 100 people, and you're set. Yes. Teamwork.
The whole time I was just going, what the?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It was really bad. I mean, episode 3 was at least like just your basic base entertainment type show. I mean, it was it was nothing creative about it, nothing amazing about it.
And like even episode 2 had terrible fighting too, and I guess it got slightly better in 3. It's like the quick cuts. It's like
I would have preferred the Adam West pow, or like kapow, and it would have been better, than that, which is terrible.
And I was really excited at the beginning of episode 2 because it was interesting. They find this mysterious device in a cave out in the jungle somewhere, and like there's so many cool directions they could have gone. Like, just that episode, the beginning was reminding me sort of like a Stargate episode, but then all of a sudden, they have these cheesy military characters come out of nowhere, they get on a plane, the rest of the episode takes place on a plane.
First Tom Cruise 2.0 grabs this unstable, mysterious device made by alien / German / who the hell knows what, just grabs it, while these scientists, these two squirrel scientists...
Gotta move!
We don't have time for this shit! And then the two squirrely scientists, you can't do that.
No.
Oh god, it's just bad. And then I don't think I'm gonna watch it anymore, like at all. Like I feel like I gave it a fair chance. 3 episodes, that's pretty good for me, anyways. I've never been a fan of Joss Whedon's stuff though, so it's not surprising to me. Except for Firefly is the only show I've ever liked of his. So it's probably not surprising to me. Like a lot of this stuff is formulaic in the terms of the way I disliked Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse. So I think that's very, I don't know. I think Firefly was very unique storytelling because he didn't have anything to do with like someone who had extra abilities or powers. I think he should just stay away from powers, like in general. Just
no. I mean, there were some powers in Firefly.
No, she was just a badass and smart. There wasn't like anything supernatural about it.
I mean, no, but he was bringing it to the point where she was psychic, and
yeah.
I mean that would have definitely been uncovered if it would have been allowed to go, because that's why he basically just kind of forced it into the movie, because that's the way he wanted to go, and that was nice. It was a nice gradual pace, but
yeah, and the setting of the story in Firefly was amazing. The actors amazing, and I just thought that the charisma of the entire group went together, and everyone was their own badass, which was awesome. It was like everyone was a badass at what they were supposed to do, as opposed to this show where no one seems to have their shit together.
No, everyone's just like. And another thing about episode 2, which was horrific, is everyone was just arguing the entire show.
Yeah,
and it's like, what the f am I watching? Like this.
These are agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What?
This is
not.
terrible.
If I were Thor, I would not work with these people. Like,
if I was Thor, I would fucking just like take that plane out of the sky with a lightning bolt and kill all these fucks. It's like, you guys are annoying. It was terrible. Like, it just was not entertaining to watch them argue half the episode. That's not fun, like TV entertainment.
Well, I guess maybe for some people it is. That's why reality TV is like really popular, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Reality TV in the sky, an airplane with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Sweet.
Nice. So maybe we should stop right there.
But it doesn't stop right there, because apparently Fox has picked up a show that's going to be very similar, except I don't think it's going to have a team, and it could actually be good, called Gotham, which is going to take place in the Batman universe, so DC side, and it's going to cover, what's his name? Commissioner Gordon?
Yep.
Before he meets Batman. Because...
I don't know, I'm torn. I'm really torn. I'm getting sick of using, like, these universes just to... for
Gotham is a really cool city. So I could see if they used it and they turned it real dark, and they just kind of used it as, like, this... And especially if they bring in the villains.
But that's the thing. I
cool.
mean, maybe.
I have hopes for it. I like Commissioner Gordon, and I like Gotham, and I like the darkness of that entire era. Like, a lot of the Batman cartoon series, what was that on? Was that the... What network was that on?
Was it WB?
Yeah. Yeah, that whole series was really good, and I even thought to myself, like, I could even watch those without Batman in them. Because the villains and the people they interact with are actually really cool. Because it's a very... But I guess I tend to like the kind of already corrupted, already seedy type of towns, cities, world, and then the entity comes in and exists in that world, which is kind of neat. It's called Dread.
Dread.
Yeah. So we'll see. And then that's the fall 2014 season. So next year we'll see.
Yeah, I hope it's good, but I don't have high hopes. Them just reusing a universe that's already been done. I mean, I don't know. Like, the city's been used, like the universe has been used a lot, and without Batman, I just think it's going to fall flat. But we'll see. Yeah.
Why do you suppose they don't use why don't they just redo a Batman show? They've never done a real Batman show since Adam West, right? Was there?
Was that the 50s?
Yeah. There hasn't been a TV show since then, has there?
Well, I mean...
Not cartoon-wise,
Yeah, not cartoon. The cartoons were great. But yeah, I don't think they've done a Batman show since. They might have. It might have been some small something in the 80s, but that I don't know about. But yeah, nothing big. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be licensing rights. I know they wanted to have Batman in Smallville for the longest time, Bruce Wayne. They couldn't have him. I don't think they could have Wonder Woman. I think it was just a bunch of licensing issues, so it might be partly that. I mean, they did create Green Arrow, the series. I don't know. You never did watch that, did you? I was impressed. Again, I had zero expectations for it, and it had good fighting. It had decent acting. It had some fun action. It had like a nice twist on the Green Arrow lore, but it was fun to watch, and I would definitely watch the second season once it comes out. But yeah, I think...
What, is that DC?
Yeah, DC. But I think it'd be better if they did, like smaller superheroes. Like, they don't need to do Superman. They don't need to do Batman for a series. They should do, existing characters that have been around a long time but aren't really popular right now, and build them up. Like sort of like how Marvel did, like with Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And like, I guess...
Well, they didn't slowly build it up. I mean, that movie exploded it.
Well, yeah, the movie exploded it. But if you're going to do a series, like, just try to bring some other people into the spotlight. Instead of having, like, a show in Gotham with no Batman.
You know what would be really cool is if it was a show in Gotham, but it had the introduction of Martian Manhunter just solving the crimes. Like,
that would be
and
awesome.
because he's like a detective,
yeah.
And so then like have him like just solving crimes as a detective, and then like suddenly like you start to realize like as it comes out that he is the Martian Manhunter, that's
the way to do it.
And then you wouldn't even have to like make a stupid movie about the Martian Manhunter, and you can even do backstories and really cool shit, and like you can start to see his powers come out slowly bit by bit, and like reveal it, and like suddenly like after like the first season everyone's like, oh, Martian Manhunter, whereas opposed to right now people are like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, unless you've watched like the old Justice League cartoons or are a huge fan of the comic books, then you have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
And he's going to appear in the Justice League movie, and people are like, who's this Martian? Who's he manhunting? What's going on?
Why do you call it the Martian Manhunter?
But yeah, no, that's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
But again, We don't have the money to do this stuff.
Unfortunately, we'll just act it out, and Daisy can be like the Joker. Have you ever danced? Mm-hmm. What was it? The devil in the pale moonlight. Classic Batman. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I really have gotten into like enjoying hearing about other characters because someone's really into the Justice League. And
Daisy?
Daisy.
You watching Justice League at night?
Daisy's really into the Justice League. She just loves all the characters, and I'm like, half of them I'm just like, because I didn't follow the comics. Aside from Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, Aquaman I've heard of, but only as a joke. And
because he is.
Right. Well, I heard he's gotten better through the grapevine of the internet. That the new issues that have been written to him make him worth something.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't followed him. So.
But he seems like a joke to me.
And you're referring specifically to the Justice League cartoon?
Yes.
Which you didn't watch when it first aired. So.
No. I stopped at Batman. I didn't even get to see the Batman and not versus and Superman.
You didn't watch the Superman series too either?
No, just Batman.
Because eventually, I think eventually when it started airing, they would have a Batman episode first, and then Superman would be next. So they'd
I went off to college
and stopped watching TV.
So I stopped watching TV entirely. Yeah, so that's kind of where it ended for me. Yeah, but
yeah, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited quality, so good.
Yeah, I finally watched Superman versus the Elite, and I really liked it. And it kind of like one of the things we saw today, like on YouTube, was like, or on the internet. I don't know, what do you call it? Like when something becomes like a meme, and it's like the thing to see, like on the internet at the time.
The birth of the meme.
The birth of the meme.
Meme birth.
But it's not really a meme if it's just a one day sort of like, check this link out, right? It's got to be called something. There's something like whatever.
I guess there's a term, I don't know.
Whatever. Anyways, there's this Carrie, the movie, like the Stephen King horror movie. They did a promo video where they rigged this New York City coffee shop so that...
God, so fucking badass.
To like have like this wall built in within the coffee shop so they could rig a guy to it and have him like be like actually thrown against the wall and lifted up, and then they rigged like all these tables to move, and they rigged like the books to fall off the shelf, and they staged the entire place with actors, and then they had the patrons come in just to order the coffee. And this guy comes in and he pretends like, he spills coffee on this chick, and she's just like, you spilled coffee on me. He's like, just take a napkin and clean it up. And she's just like, it's ruined. And then she just like, get away from me. And she like does like this, and he like goes up against the wall and like flies up in the air. And then
people are like, wow.
The people in the store are like,
the people's reactions are amazing.
And then
absolutely
like
amazing.
She moves the tables, and they're like screaming, and they're like, they're like, get the fuck out, and they're like running, and then like the things come off the wall, and she starts screaming, and everyone's like running away.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hate pranks like this, so I don't really actually find it funny.
But that was a good prank.
It was well done. I don't like pranks, and I don't like pranks at all. Like, so, but I was thinking to myself, like, what the fuck were wrong with all these people in the video? Like, why would you be running away from her? Like, she has telekinetic fucking powers, and if you actually believe she has telekinetic powers, I would be going to her. I would be like, teach me your ways.
Would you really be going to her when she's like screaming and like books are flying all
hell
over the
yeah,
place?
I would. I mean, how many times in your life are you ever going to get to meet someone who has telekinesis?
You don't need to run up and shake her hand while she's screaming and shit's flying everywhere.
Well, I'm not going to run away. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to become her best friend. You know what I mean? Like, I want superpowers. You know what I mean? Like,
here, let me help you with your inner turmoil.
Yes, exactly. I will be like,
here's my card.
Let me help you out, and I'll train you to keep calm and control your powers for the greater good.
I would just ran up, grabbed a piece of her hair, and screamed, "I have your power!" and I ran out of the place. It's like,
I don't
got
think
it.
It works like that.
Yeah, well, it would be funny.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, man, you got to see the people's reaction. Like this one woman, she was like, shit, fuck, and like just backs away, starts running. They're like bleeping everyone's language because they were like visibly freaked out.
Yeah, I just don't think I would be freaked out.
I don't know. I think I'd be.
I've seen scarier things in middle school. growing up,
I don't know.
going to school in the hood. Yeah, so I don't know. I know some chick freaking out and having telekinesis wouldn't freak me out for some reason. I don't know. Now, if she, like, sprung needles from her face...
If people started bleeding out of their eyes around her...
I would run.
See, that's what they should have done.
Yeah.
They should have had, like, people with, like, blood packets and stuff.
Yes.
And, like, turned around and be like, ah, falling to the ground.
Then I would have ran.
But then they'd be paying for everyone's psychiatry bill.
Yes, they would have. I think I can imagine what it would have looked like when they were, like, running away and then the people had to stop them. Wait, it's just a joke, don't freak out. You know, like, one girl was trying to film it on her phone, but she was, like, so freaked out, you know?
It's like, gotcha.
No. So we'll be sure to link that video below so you can check it out. But yeah, I definitely want telekinesis. Although I think my ultimate superpower would be liquefaction. Basically, like, I could liquefy any piece of matter like that comes in my path, and that way I could destroy everything that I didn't like.
Including people?
Especially people. Like, I want to be... My dream is to become a supervillain. I want to be a supervillain. I do not want to be a superhero because it's really boring. Supervillains can, like, make up their own mind. Oh, which is why I was talking about Superman versus the Elite earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Was that, yeah, I actually liked the Elite. Like, I liked what they did, although they took it to the extreme. But it was really cool how, like, they would go in and they would just eliminate people they thought were a problem. And I didn't see a problem with that.
I mean, it's really almost cool. Like what you kind of want to happen.
Right.
I mean, like, in reality. Mm-hmm. Like, you want someone to go in and, like, destroy, like, completely just, like, wipe out, like, warlords who would do genocide or dictators. Like, yeah, just, there was, like, for anyone who doesn't know what Superman versus the Elite is, it's one of the DC's animated movies. I think it's the second newest one. And it's about these 4 kids with superpowers who they basically just start taking the law into their own hands, going around the world and, like, just wiping out people they think are evil and dishing out justice. And Superman's in it, and he obviously has a problem with that. And it's interesting because it shows a very gray versus like gray, like kind of
gray area,
gray area versus like the stereotypical black and white that you always see, especially in a lot of cartoons.
Yeah, like you're the ultimate evil versus the ultimate good, and these guys were actually good, but they were willing to do bad for good.
Yeah.
And Superman's not about that, apparently, in that cartoon, but not in the movie.
Yes.
It's like I want to let you segue into the rant of like Superman the movie of like awfulness, you know, like in this particular cartoon movie, Superman versus Elite. At the very end, he basically is like, you know, screw this, I'm going psycho, you know, and like Superman becomes like my ultimate Superman, the one that I would love, where he basically just like and just like kills everyone.
Should we
and
spoil
like,
it?
And oh, oops. Well, yes.
Okay, spoilers, folks. Spoilers.
I have to talk about this.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, it's still worth watching because it's you know, the story itself is good. Like that's the thing that annoys me about movies or any type of like show is where everything comes down to the finale. It's not the process of the storytelling. Like that's why superheroes in general. Comic books are interesting is because it's the storytelling of the process, not the end fight, not the who wins, who loses.
Not the shock at the end.
Right. And so in this case, I mean, this was really about Superman trying to come to terms with his self-image, his social image, what the world thinks of him, how he should be dealing with, like, bad guys is like starting to question himself whether or not his methods are actually like, you know, right or wrong or
because
good
he'll
for him.
put people away, you know, like how Batman
and they'll just come back out
and eventually they escape or they do harm to people.
And that's what I'm like that's exactly right. You just, you know, like get it over with. Like why would you want to like deal with them again? It's like so they can come back in issue 242, you know, like it just it doesn't make sense. Yeah, which is kind of probably why they do it, but also there's
the comics,
there also is a kind of morality, like, you know, tale in this, and so like, you know, Superman versus Elite, I mean, he goes ape shit and like it's amazing, and
well, they fight him. I mean, they fight him, and
so he goes against the Elite. And it's like, you know, you want me to play, you know, the way you want me to play, I'll play with you guys that way, and then he just starts like, you know, it looks like he's basically tearing them apart and destroying them each one by one, and it's destroying the city and the people around
destroying
him.
Everyone,
collateral damage, like, you know, crazy.
Sort of like the movie, but, you know, a setup.
Yeah, but it all turns out to be a setup.
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah, because apparently Superman's apparently Superman's smart.
Yes, he is.
Apparently he's got a brain on him, and then apparently he's got like technology, and he's actually utilized that thing called superpower, and so it ends up being
he's actually holding up to his ideals.
Yes, and it's a setup, and so actually it turns out there was no collateral damage and everything like that, and it was just basically show you like how horrible things could be if Superman
the whole
got
world
to
was
that.
watching,
yeah,
because I guess the Elite called him out.
Because a lot of people were just like, yeah, Superman, why can't you be more like the Elite? You know, like fucking like just go fuck him up, and you know, like stop being such a wuss, you know, and. So then he was like, you want to see what's going to be like, you know, if I'm the way I am, you know,
if he loses control, and terrifies the whole world, which is, the scene's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then it reveals that it's all set up and stuff that, you know, he just wanted to prove to them that, you know, that it's not the right thing to do, which in the end was not my favorite scene of that cartoon, which is why I'm okay with revealing it, because I actually thought everything up to that point was like something I was like, yeah, why not? Exactly.
But it's Superman.
It's Superman, right, exactly.
But you can't, you know, he's not going to go against it unless it's in the movie.
Right, and then I was like, well, how does Superman have robots? I didn't even know that, you know, like
the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, well, apparently that Fortress of Solitude has a lot of shit in it I never knew about, and apparently he's a collector of things, a tinkerer, a scientist / whatever, you know, he's probably like 10 times better than Iron Man at constructing stuff, you know, because he's got like mad brains. But, so in, you know, like, it was kind of crazy and ironic because I happened to see that cartoon episode, and then I saw the movie, and it's like collateral damage. Like a motherfucker, he basically goes ape shit all over town. It was just basically like the end of that cartoon, except for it wasn't a setup.
I know. It's terrible. So yeah, the movie. We should talk about the movie.
Okay, I'll let you talk about the movie, because I don't think it hit me as much as you, because I don't have the same background of knowledge of Superman. I'm only just discovering Superman has this really awesome side to himself, other than just being kind of a hero to the people.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like most people who don't read the comics or don't follow the lore of Superman, or like a lot of the DC heroes in general, they only really have the old movie to go off of. Like was it Christopher Reeves?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're good movies, like they're nostalgic, but it represents Superman's like the ideal of Superman. It represents, you know, like him being good and for truth and justice and the American way, which sometimes they cut out now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But it doesn't go into, I guess, in detail to like how built up his Fortress of Solitude is. Nothing like ever remotely even touches like how smart he is. I mean, he's clever in, like, Superman 2, where he tricks the Kryptonians. That's just being clever. But yeah, like, I guess there's an intellect scale for DC, like, if you go to the DC Wiki. His intellect is pretty much, I mean, genius level. It's not as high as Lex Luthor's and some of the other genius level intellect people in the DC universe, but it's very high. And he's, unfortunately, never ever represented that way, like, outside of, like, the comics. And even the animated series, it does an okay job here and there, but he's always overshadowed by like people like Batman, which I guess he should be. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's like the movie in general. Like you go to the new one, you compare like the new one to the old one, and I mean it's just the new one. Like it's not Superman movie. It's just flat out like this is like an alien. This is the first contact alien movie. It is. It's not Superman. Like, just period. Like, there's nothing about Superman. There's no Superman in that movie.
Well, it's a Superman that appeals to be one of the most iconic American heroes ever made.
But he's not a hero in the movie. Like, you know, like, when people talk about, like, Superman and, like, living up to the ideal of Superman, like, it's, like...
But
it's this thing that, like...
He cape on himself and was running around the field, and his dad was so proud of him. Like, that's like...
Oh, you mean the flashback?
Yeah.
Well, no, you're right. You know, that's interesting you say that, because, like, it's like the people that made the movie, I forget their names now, they took that scene, like, you take this, like, iconic scene where, like, kids everywhere, they want to live up to be Superman. Yes. Everyone, like, wants to live up to be Superman. And, like, the people that made this movie, they take that scene, there's, like, the kid with the cape on, he's standing there with, like, his hands on his hips, but they don't understand what that scene means. Because that scene, like not everything represented in that scene is not found in the rest of the movie.
It's true.
Because that Superman in the movie he's not a Superman that you want to like live up to. Like you take like the First Contact, him like when he talks to the military people, he's basically saying in their face that like I'm here, you can't do anything about it. I can kill you all, and oh, and by the way, I have X-ray vision. I'm like looking through your skull and I see something in your pocket, and like that's like the First Contact. That's not Superman. Like First Contact with like Superman in the older movies, is like he's Lois Lane is interviewing him, and like they're just having a dialogue, and like he's not being threatening. He's like explaining to her like what he stands for. He talks about his strengths and like, even reveals his weaknesses. And it's just like I guess the juxtaposition is like it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean like just I don't know, the last scene was just so jarring to me because well, I liked it because of the action was amazing. I like seeing destruction of city property, buildings, the world in general. So I kind of liked the scene, but then like you realize it's freaking Superman, and he's basically killed like I don't know how many people with collateral.
Half of New, well, like what is it? I guess
Metropolis / New York
/ yeah. Chicago or whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and then at the very end, to me the thing that just was like, I was like, what? Like he kills Zod.
Yeah,
Superman doesn't kill like that.
No,
just,
he doesn't.
That is like to me like at that point you're like, okay, that's not Superman. Like that, no freaking way Superman kills anyone. Like everybody who's anybody should know that Superman can't kill anyone. Like it's like a program within his brain. He doesn't feel like anyone should have the right to take another person's life, which is, in my opinion, one of his biggest character flaws. But it's his character. It's his character.
It is, and like they totally like just took that and like just shit all over it. I mean, they really did, and it's a shame because, I guess if they would have gone like the route where he not accidentally, but like he was forced into a position to kill someone in like a later movie, at somewhere down the line after like they've established like who he is and what he stands for, I could take that. That would be okay if it was done right, because like he has killed in the past. He killed
No.
Yeah.
No, I read they said everyone thought he killed him, but then in the end yeah, and then
he killed what's his name? Mind drawing a blank.
Well, we can wiki it later,
yes,
but I'm pretty sure like I was reading that says like even when they thought that he had actually killed someone, he did kill them, but it was like the guy, he let the guy destroy himself or something.
Doomsday.
Yeah, or I don't remember.
But like when he fought Doomsday, he basically sacrificed himself, and they both killed each other. So I guess that is, as far as I know, that's the only person he's killed. But that was more of a weapon than an actual creature. But even then, in some reiterations and retellings, like on the Justice League, instead of killing him, he basically just sends him to the Phantom Zone. It's like, okay, bye, see you, have fun.
Safe zone.
Phantom Zone.
I mean, I'm not opposed to Superman killing anyone. I'm not opposed to anyone killing anyone in the shows. It's just like but it's just like Superman is like iconically a good guy. Like he will do everything the hard way just to maintain his integrity. And like that's what's crazy.
And even sacrifice himself.
Yeah, and the fact that he destroyed like 20,000 people in collateral damage fighting Zod, and then he wasn't willing to sacrifice 4 people to keep Zod alive.
And he let his father die.
Oh God, that one I can't even. That blows my mind. How does Superman like I don't even know any other person who had a loving father who would sit there willingly and watch their father die because the father said so, like without superpowers.
Yeah, no.
Let alone with superpowers. To just let his father die and be swept up by that tornado, and he could just like zoom in, grab him, come back, and no one would have even known. Or even if he did do it, he could have just pretended like they survived miraculously. I mean, that story was like what, like
that was
what?
Terrible. Again,
who
it just
lets their father die, let alone Superman? Like that was crazy. That was crazy.
Which again shows the people in charge of this movie. They don't get it. They don't understand Superman, and it's really unfortunate because, I mean, they're going to use the same universe to do Superman versus Batman, which is stupid. It's going to be dumb. Like it's not versus.
Man of Steel, the punch from space that exploded Batman's internal organs. I love Hishi.
Yeah, and you should actually link that too.
Yeah, how it should have ended.
there's this animated series these guys do called How It Should Have Ended. They did one for, you know,
the versus commentary,
Yeah,
as
that's
opposed to
coming.
and get this, it's called Batman versus Superman, and Superman was like, what?
he's like, I would so end you. But yeah, we'll link that. It's good. But yeah, it's a shame because, I mean, I don't know, who knows how long it's going to go on, because like they're on the heels of Marvel and their success, and they're going to do this Batman versus Superman. They want to do maybe Wonder Woman. They want to do Justice League, and like it just started out so poorly.
Well, I mean,
terrible.
it did well box office wise, and I think
Which is also a shame.
well, I think that it appealed to the American people that, you know, self-sacrifice, sacrificing loved ones, being someone that is delivered to the American people, and I do say American people, as their savior. Like, that's a very appealing motif to do, which I can see, but in my it was just ridiculous. I didn't like it at all, and the whole like him wandering around trying to find himself in the beginning, like this guy with amazing superpowers and smart as hell is like busting tables and on freaking America's Deadliest Catch, you know, and you're just like, what? No, that's not Superman. Like,
no, it's not. It's just, and like you said, like a good option, like, you know, to use the journalism side of it, because he's a reporter, is make him like, instead of like wandering the globe aimlessly, make him like a war journalist or something.
Well, he should have been like a war journalist. I mean, if you're going to go ahead and keep the stupid journalist thing, which I thought was the cheesiest, dumbest ending ever, so that so that she could say welcome to the planet. Yeah, so if you're going to keep him as a journalist, like, make him a war journalist. Make him, like, helping people out and, you know, trying to figure out what he can do with not revealing himself in the beginning. If you're
to
going
help.
to help.
Because that's who he's about.
Yeah, and to use his powers to help people, and it could put himself in the situation of war. And there could have been really a lot of cool, like, subtext commentary about, you know, American war policies, which they threw in there, you know, at the end anyways, with the satellite thing or whatever.
Which was also him knocking it out of the sky was
him knocking.
so not Superman. Stupid.
So anyways, you give it 2 thumbs up then, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just going to throw one more thing out there, which I found interesting, is in terms of, like, you know, people wanting to live up to the ideal of Superman. Scott Kurtz, who is the artist and writer of the webcomic PvP, he was like going on a complete and ridiculous rant about the movie. It was like right after him and his wife saw it, and like he brought up a good point, like just, you know, kind of like touching upon the fact that people like use Superman as like our culture, like they use it as like, you know, something to strive for, something to look up to like be this ideal. And like he brought up the fact that like even in the Iron Giant, do you remember that animation?
I never saw it.
Oh, so maybe I shouldn't give it away.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, so like you go through the movie, and like near the end, like the Iron Giant, he finds out like he's a weapon, and like he's sad about this, but the boy was like he's basically telling him like you can be anything you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end, like there's like with the nuclear missile coming down, and the Iron Giant, like he was like trying to figure out like what he wants to be, and like near the end the missile's coming down to like destroy the town, and like he flies up into the air, and like he's flying like this, and like the last thing he says is like Superman, and like he gets the missile and like sacrifices himself. And so
It sounds really sad.
that's a better movie than the Superman movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just kind of hit home like what he said, and
Yeah.
comparing that to like the new movie, and it's just a shame.
Yeah, it had to be a blockbuster hit, and I was really excited because it looked like it was going to be a darker theme.
Yeah.
And
oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought we were gonna have a real chance at seeing a really awesome Superman movie, especially co-written by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Who did the Batman reboot? So I thought to myself like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then it turns out like the origin story was terrible. I mean, like because they focus so much on Krypton.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I thought that was complete like waste of like sci-fi footage. Like, I mean, why not just create a whole movie about Krypton right before its destruction? It'd be way cooler, than just that little piece.
Yeah, and Krypton.
And it kind of overshadowed a big chunk of the middle part of the movie.
It did, and I don't know, just the the way they came up with the tech and like just the visuals of it, like it didn't seem like Superman. It didn't seem like Krypton.
Yeah.
And I thought the Kryptonians were a terrible first villain for Superman. Terrible. I mean, I can understand why they used it because they're recognizable from the old movies, and because they got to destroy everything. Because the fight, obviously, they're going to destroy shit. But like, I mean, that's always too easy for Superman as a villain. Like Superman, yes, he's strong. He can beat stuff up. That we know that. Like, there's very little that can stand up against him. But like, where like a Superman story shines is where he has to overcome something where he cannot use his strength, and yet retain his strength. Like not taking his powers away. Like Wolverine. That nonsense. So like one of the best storylines I think is like where Lex Luthor becomes president, because he fools the American people into thinking that he's good now. Superman knows better, but Superman can't do anything. Like his strength is useless, and so he sits there and like his hands are tied, and so he has to figure out other ways to like resolve this issue, or to like fight against Lex Luthor, but not directly. I find stories like that interesting, like much more interesting than like just an all-out battle, which they had to do because they want.
And it's not like you can't still do an all-out battle. It's just
they could have. They definitely could have.
It just like there's some pretty good storytelling to do within the Superman universe that doesn't just have to do with ultimate, powers going up against each other in terms of strength. And yeah, and I just thought I thought Lex Luthor would have been a better villain to bring up, or even. I thought to myself, what would be really cool is if, Lex Luthor, but you didn't know this, that he had actually commissioned, a lot of devices and war machines and a lot of the war that's going on. I mean, you could just basically correlate it straight to Bush and Cheney, storyline with Iraq and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just kind of tie that in with technology that is, beyond man's comprehension, that should not be in our hands. And have Superman actually, come up against this as a war journalist and just trying to decide what he needs to do. And then at the very end of it, kind of showing that it's all tied back to Lex Luthor. And then that becomes, so he starts to realize that he's got to deal with this guy who's really smart.
Yeah, it would have been good. I mean, something like that could be good. But I think they're just, I think they didn't want to use Lex Luthor yet or right now because he's been used so much in the other movies.
True. I mean, like I said, he didn't have to be the face of it, but it could have all led up to that. I mean, the fact that they felt like they needed to have the villain, up against, the hero was just very kind of, I don't know.
A little cliche.
Yeah.
And just having a ton of superpowered Kryptonians, it was just too much. It seems more like, a villain for a Justice League movie, or everyone can use their powers against the Kryptonians, and you can see the wide array of people fighting and how they
it would have been great for the Justice League,
how they use strategy against the other Kryptonians, rather than Superman just getting pummeled and destroying New York.
New York,
not New York.
Well, Gotham's New York, so why can't Metropolis be?
Yes, Metropolis,
New York as well, right?
But yeah, Marvel's New York. And yeah, I don't know. It's funny, but we didn't have a problem with all the damage in New York in Marvel.
No.
But I guess it's one of these things where
because like you said, everyone's dying, 20, however many thousands of people are dying, and he has this moral dilemma at the end because 4 people might be killed, even though because they're too stupid enough to move from the freaking laser eyes.
Well, he's making it worse. I mean, Superman would have tried to bring the fight elsewhere. He wouldn't have punched the guys into downtown Smallville. He wouldn't have brought the fight to Metropolis. He would have tried to bring them away. He would have tried to lead them away from the other people. Not. But they wanted destruction.
It's not your grandpa Superman no more.
Not anymore.
It's a new age of Superman.
I'm going to stick to watching Marvel movies.
All right.
So we're done with that.
All right. We're going to talk about some magic or what?
Yeah, let's talk about some magic.
Okay. All right.